On this week's Gridiron Report, we have Michigan and Michigan State advancing to the Sweet 16, and the Detroit Tigers season is finally kicking off. It's all brought to you by Pins and Aces, our favorite spot for all of your golf apparel needs. Use promo code GRIT for 21% off any product at pinsandaces.com. Let's get into it.
In the heart of the city where the lights grow dim, grit and grind every inch, every rim. From the underdogs rising to the legends that win. It's the Gridiron Report, let the games begin. Every highlight's a journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retire. Gridiron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on blast, beats thundering loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd. The Gridiron Report.
Welcome to the Gridiron Report, your Lions First All Detroit Sports podcast presented by Mic Drop Studios. Today is Wednesday, March 25th, and college basketball is still alive here in the state of Michigan for both Michigan and Michigan State. You and I were on last week. We went through saying what would be a disappointment for both teams. We said for Michigan State, the minimum would probably be at least a Sweet 16, and then we'd feel comfortable with anything happening after that. Michigan, we both agreed based on the talent they have, the path that they had to go through. Really anything less than, I think we said, Elite Eight, maybe even Final Four would be a disappointment. So both teams very much still on track with both of their first two games coming as victories. Michigan State beating the North Dakota State Bisons in the first round, and then Louisville in the second round, and then Michigan beating the Howard Bison, and then the St. Louis Billikens in the second round. Both teams look pretty good in their games. I think the Big Ten, a lot of people are calling it a Michigan State championship. The Big Ten looks pretty good here in the state of Michigan.
Dude, the Big Ten's cruising, dude. I mean, not just Michigan and Michigan State, but you got just Nebraska and Iowa and just an all-time Sweet 16 matchup. Purdue's still doing their thing. Illinois still doing their thing. So, but I mean, let's just soak it in for a second. Like, I feel like this is such an underrated week. Like the week between the first round and the second round of the tournament, when like you can kind of just bask in the glory of like, your first two wins. Like, obviously you just broke it down, but like we knew that Michigan, without a shadow of a doubt, was going to be in the second weekend. And to an extent, Michigan State too. That would have been a huge disappointment if they got bounced by Louisville or, first round, anything like that. So, but regardless, like making it to the Sweet 16, it's always nice just like having this week to just kind of relax a little bit, look at the matchup. And a couple really good matchups, especially for Michigan State looking at UConn. We'll break that down in a little bit, but I mean, just in general, man. I mean, March, it's such a fantastic time. College basketball. I mean, say what you want about it being pretty chalky this year, but I do think we had like enough upsets. I'm looking at, the Florida-Iowa game to where it was still a very compelling weekend of college basketball. And like, it doesn't matter what kind of games that I'm watching. Like, I am just going to be on my ass on the couch for like, 10 straight hours, 14 straight hours, regardless. So yeah, it was fantastic overall.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying it was pretty chalky just because, like I said, in the first round, but that almost set up just a bunch of great games this past weekend. And, I mean, we've been, as Michigan State fans, we've been on the side of, unfortunately, in the past where, you get bounced in the first round or, you just don't make it out of the first weekend. There was a small stretch there for Izzo in which getting out of the first weekend was a little bit of a difficult thing for him. And it's just so sad, like to get kicked out. Like you get so amped up. You love that Thursday. You love that Friday. Whenever your game is, you have so much basketball going on. And then if you get bounced in that first weekend, you just kind of your ride was cut so short. And so I agree completely with you. It's like having just this week of like looking at the matchups, looking into the team you're playing. Obviously, Michigan State, speaking as a Spartan, we know UConn, like, or at least we've played UConn before. Well, we'll break down them a little bit here in a few minutes, but like we know UConn. There's some other teams that you don't know who you're going up against, so you do a little bit of figuring out who's their best player. It's just this week of like talking about the teams, talking about your coaches doing the press tour, stuff like that. When you get bounced in the first weekend, it's just like the ride was cut so short. So I'm happy that both teams were able to make it out of their respective opening weekend. Let's start with the Spartans because we're just going with that. So Michigan State, as I already mentioned, Michigan State coming away from their first game, winning against the North Dakota State Bison, 92-67, in a game that like I was watching it with the fellas at the bar, and like we were saying, I feel like there hasn't been a game in which, at least a March Madness game, in which we were that in control for quite a long time. You and I, even last week when we were on our episode, we are talking like Yeah, we'll probably win comfortably at the end, you know, like a 10 plus kind of thing. The line was, I think, 16 or something like that, which we were kind of worried about that line. But even so, we said like at the first half, it probably will be close in the first half because that's just what Spartans do. Like we struggle out the gate. First half, you know, is a little bit down. And then second half, we figure it out. We end up winning pretty comfortably. Whether we cover or not, it's a different story. But we end up winning pretty comfortably. This was a game that, like, start to finish, Michigan State just dominated. That's something that we usually see, you know, come March.
It was great. It was great because we broke down the spread in last week's episode, but yeah, 16 and a half spread, which you're like, oh, that's pretty big. You look at all the other 3 seeds that have like 19, 20, 22 point spreads, and you're like, wait, are we on upset watch now? Because we're like the tightest spread of the 3-14 line. And lo and behold, actually, like there were some other 3 seeds that I think struggled a lot more. And I mean, we covered comfortably. I think there was never a doubt after like probably the first 5 or 10 minutes of the game that we were going to cover. So yeah, that's always fantastic. Like you get the first one out of the way. You know, you got a couple freshmen on the team. You know, you got your Jordan Scotts on the team that you know, it is their first tournament game. So there's probably going to be some jitters, some so obviously some excitement there. So getting that first win, always nice. And then, I mean, the real battle, you know, we knew the test was going to be for Louisville. Spread was 4.5. Like, obviously, Louisville, you know, a really well coached team, a team that's, you know, on the up and coming, has, you know, been to, you know, college basketball's highest point, you know, a national championship win over Michigan, actually, I think in like 24. They've been low. They've been down for, you know, a couple of years now, and now they're kind of back on the rise. They have a good roster. Dealing with some injuries. I think their best point guard or one of their guards was out.
Freshman,
so obviously that's gonna help us a ton. But I think in general, I mean, my biggest takeaway from both games, I mean, it has to be Jeremy Fears. And I know I want you to, you know, cover Cohen Carr as well. He was electric, but I just want to touch on Fears just for a little bit. Like, he was just the absolute engine of our team. Like, you know, if you want to get far in March Madness, it always comes down to guard play. Every single time, it's going to come down to guard play. You got to take care of the ball. You got to deliver in key moments to your best players, and that's exactly what Jeremy Fears did. He was just incredible. I mean, 16 assists against Louisville? That was a Michigan State record for one player in the tournament. It actually passed Magic Johnson. Ever heard of him, buddy? 14 assists for Magic Johnson when, like, I think assists weren't even, I mean, they were like tracked, but they weren't official in the 70s. And so, yeah, officially for Jeremy Fears, 16 assists. And I think he had, what did he have, like 14 the game prior or 12 the game prior, whatever. He's been lighting it up. And it's certainly my biggest takeaway.
So my biggest takeaway, I mean, Jeremy's been electric. I do want to see a little bit more out of him in the scoring category. So you mentioned he had 16 assists against Louisville. He had 11 against the Bison in the opening round. Points wise, he again in the first round against the Bison, he had just 7 points, and then against Louisville, he did a little bit better there. He had 12 points. So I want to see maybe a little more. If I like, beggars can be choosers. I want to see a little more, like, scoring wise. He was 1 for 4 from 3 against Louisville, and 1 for 2 from 3 against the Bison. So, like, I want to see a little bit there. But I think that's totally a huge takeaway. He's been fantastic. I think the entire country is talking about how great of a point guard Cassius Winston is. Everyone knows, Braden with Purdue. But I feel like people are starting to learn more about Jeremy Fears. But for me, the takeaway was... Did
you just let slip was that a Freudian slip, a little Cassius Winston there?
Did I say Cassius?
I believe you did. Yeah, it was.
As I was saying, I was in my head. I was like, "Wait, did you see Cassius? I don't remember."
Verbal meme of like what superhero just like looking at the picture and it's like you looking at Cassius, like you just miss him
Wolverine.
So much. Yeah, Wolverine.
Oh, dude, and I mean, there was a time when we had really terrible AJ Hogard, and we just needed some sort of point guard play, and so I felt that for real. But the takeaway for me from these two games is, you mentioned Cohen Carr. Cohen Carr had a fantastic game, second round game against Louisville. Cohen Carr finished with 21 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1 steal. I mean, he was all over the place. He was just physically dominating them, and he definitely was contributing to this next point. But the real main takeaway for me in these first 2 games for Michigan State was a 3-point shooting. We shot 42% from 3 against Louisville, and against the Bison, we shot 50% from 3. And that's like all over the board. Guys, everyone across the board were contributing to that. Cohen Carr was, and he's not someone you can really trust out there on the perimeter. You had guys like Trey Fort, who starting back in the Big Ten tournament kind of out of nowhere is really coming on. You forget that he played a major part when for his old team in Sanford, and just never really got his time and opportunity here. He's starting to come on. You know, you got guys like Jordan Scott, who's been playing well, 3-point shooting well. Like the 3-point shooting has been phenomenal thus far, and that's going to be the X factor for Michigan State. We've always said, like, when they can shoot the threes, they have everything else. They have the veteran point guard, they have the big men, the 4 or 5 big men, they have the depth. The 3-point shooting is the only thing they were missing, and they've shot it off the charts for the first 2 games.
We basically haven't been able to shoot the 3 ball since Cassius Winston. Like, I mean, it's been atrocious for damn near half a decade now. So, including this year too, we've struggled all year. But I mean, there's no better time to get the 3 balls going than in March. So that was awesome to see. They're gonna need that against UConn for sure. But I'm pumped to see the shooting, and then just want to give one shout out to Tom Izzo. I think I gave him a preemptive grid of the week last week, and
yes.
Lo and behold, he gets us to another Sweet 16. It's his 17th Sweet 16 with Michigan State, and I mean, he was emotional after the game, just talking about the loyalty of his guys, of his captains. I think he mentioned, but I think he specifically gave some praise for a guy you just mentioned, Trey Fort, for sticking around with this program. Tough year for Trey Fort, and he hasn't had a lot of minutes down the stretch. He obviously was rewarded with more, and he's been playing really well. And he's a guy where, like, you can get a bucket out of him, you can get a big 3 out of him. And I don't know if it's my mind playing tricks on me, but I swear every time he hits a big 3, he's also like hit in the air, and like he's always like flopping down. So I'm not calling him a flopper. A lot of times he's getting that 4-point play, but Trey, maybe stay on your feet a little bit more, or maybe not. Maybe it's working, and don't change a damn thing.
Anything else Michigan State wise before we jump over to the Wolverines?
No. Let's talk about the boys in blue. Obviously, Michigan, number 1 seed in the Midwest, really just steamrolling both of their opponents. Right, they played 16 seed Howard. Beat them 101-80. Followed that up with a big victory over St. Louis, 95-72. I will say that game was closer at times, and I think St. Louis gave them their best shot. And they had guys were raining threes. There was a time where St. Louis was they had cut it to like 5. They had cut it to I think 4. I can't remember if that was like late in the first half or early in the second. Regardless, like Michigan was absolutely too much. One tidbit, I think Michigan set a program record, March Madness record. They shot 67% from the field against Howard. So yeah, I mean they're buzzing. Not they haven't been playing perfect, obviously. Down the stretch, a couple losses down the stretch in the Big Ten tournament. But I mean, in general, I should say 1 loss in the Big Ten tournament, a couple close games, but in general, they're just clicking on all cylinders right now. I think Maurice Johnson dropped 21 points on a perfect 8 of 8 shooting, 10 boards in that game. So I mean, they're absolutely buzzing, and especially with some injuries to Iowa State, I think they are. I don't want to say sleepwalking to the Final Four, but it's looking like an easy path, and that's if they were playing decently well, and they're playing very well right now.
I do want to say, so both the scores, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, like Michigan at the end of the day were very much overpowered both these two teams. For the first half of the Howard game, Michigan was only up 50-46. So like offensively, Michigan still, I mean, they got over the century mark in this game, and they were halfway there to the first half. So like Michigan's offensive game was rolling. Their defense, their defense wasn't great, but I also think Howard was getting a lot, like Howard was shooting the lights out. I think Howard was playing well above their means, at least in the first half. Second half, obviously, Michigan beat them 51-34. But Howard finished 48% from 3. Michigan just below that at 46. So I think there were definitely, for both these games, were times in which like you're like, okay, wait a minute, like is Michigan in trouble here? What are we watching something that might happen? And then Michigan kind of settles down, whether it's, and I'll tell you who in my opinion has been the person to kind of settle that ship here in a second, but like someone has always stepped up and been like, all right, no, wait a minute. We're the number 1 team in the country for a reason, or I guess technically number 1 in my mind, technically number 2 or 3. If Duke is number 1 overall, I don't know who's number 2, but like regardless, we're a number 1 seed for a reason. Let's remember how to play basketball and take care of business. And then obviously, like we said, they end up winning by 21 points in the first game, 23 in the second game. For me, the first game against Howard, again, when they were only up by 4 at halftime, the one guy that I feel like took over was Maurice Johnson. And you mentioned him finishing a perfect 8 for 8 from the field with 21 points. I mean, I feel like every time they were getting out of sorts, Maurice would find the ball and just like casually take it to the basket or do something that was like, all right, wait a minute, let's take a timeout. Let's get back on track here. I thought Morez really carried them in that first game. Obviously, star player Yaxel Lendenborg just finished with 9 points, so kind of struggled a little bit out the gate for Yaxel, and then kind of the roles reversed a little bit. I don't want to say reversed because Morez still finished with 15 points against St. Louis, but Yaxel remembered he's one of the best players in the country. Finished with 25 points, 6 rebounds, 1 block, 2 assists, against the Billikens there. So, I mean, you're getting, and we've talked about it in the past, especially when Michigan State played Michigan. These are two very different teams and how they're built out. Michigan State has basically, other than, we just talked about Trey Fort getting his time, but mostly Michigan State is recruited out of high school and has come up and developed. Michigan's a bought team. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just built very differently. And I saw something about like Yaxel and Morez, or their average NIL right now is about the $2 million or something each. So you're getting good production out of the two guys you're paying for. But like honestly, Michigan's a perfect case for just like how the NIL system could and should work and how you can buy your players and have success from them.
For sure. And I mean, like, it's one thing to say like, oh, they buy their players, whatever. Like, just because you pay players money doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to, A, pan out in general, or B, be a fit in your team. And I'm looking at
Right.
like, I heard, I don't know if it was a guard or a forward on Kentucky who I think he made about $2 million in NIL and, played like 50 minutes total the entire season, scored like 20 points or something. So again, like, just because you're paying the guys doesn't mean that they're going to be the right fit. And I think it's just a huge credit to Dusty May for like, not only saying like, yeah, we got fat pockets, but like, we're actually going to do our due diligence. We're going to see that these guys are actually worth a damn, that they could play together in my system. And it's working just so freaking tremendously. Like Yaxel, he was so tremendous against St. Louis. Like he had a dunk, and my jaw like just dropped to the floor. I'm like, oh my God. Like it was the most violent, like the most perfect dunk I've seen in probably since Cohen Carr did it, but man, it was fucking sick. So yeah, they're rolling right now. I think Dusty May in general, postseason heater. I believe this is his third Sweet 16 in 4 years. So I mean, it's just the big thing. We talk about Michigan's offense being very good. They're scoring a ton of points. Their interior defense is just a huge strong point for them. They have 7'4" guys who can really get it done inside. So against teams like Howard, even teams like St. Louis, like you're not going to have the size to go up against a Michigan. So we'll see if that changes. We'll break down the Michigan versus Alabama game, obviously the Michigan State versus Kentucky game, like two awesome matchups, especially Michigan State Kentucky. But I think just in general, man, this Sweet 16, it is bangers after bangers, especially Friday night. Like you have 4 just like absolute must-see television games.
Yeah, so let's start transitioning into the upcoming matchups.
Before we get to these awesome Sweet 16 matchups, this segment is brought to you by our great friends at Good Feels Cannabis Seltzer. The Cannabis Seltzer from Good Feels offers a new era of refreshment. Fellas, this is March. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. This is freaking March, man. And we are into the second weekend of March Madness, the Sweet 16, Elite 8, just such an elite weekend. Maybe my favorite, embrace debate, probably my favorite March Madness weekend is Sweet 16 Elite 8, just because you're getting all the incredible matchups. But, if this madness is equaling a zillion beers with the boys while watching the madness ensue, sometimes you can't afford to do that, especially Thursday, you got work on Friday, you just can't be hungover. And for that, Good Feels has you covered. Crafted with high-quality, natural ingredients, these beverages provide a consistent, enjoyable, and uplifting experience, perfect for any occasion. The best part is you can enjoy an exclusive discount with promo code GRIT. That's promo code GRIT for 20% off any product at shop.getgoodfeels.com. Now back to the madness. Where do we want to start? I feel like we were starting with Michigan. I feel like, let's strike while the iron's hot. Michigan, number 1 Michigan versus number 4 Alabama. Friday, am I reading this right? Are they still in Chicago? Because they were in Chicago for their last round game. So, okay, don't have to travel far.
Yes, they're in Chicago.
Okay, not a lot of travel for the Michigan Wolverines. I guess how these two teams stack up for me, this is an easy one. This is, a very well-rounded Michigan team, but a team that probably does hang their head on defense. I think they rank 9th or 10th nationally, just with that massive size that I mentioned, especially on the interior. So it's that team versus Alabama, who just, I mean, their offense. I mean, credit to NATO. It's like they jack up threes, they hit threes, they score at will. Probably the most prolific offense in all of college basketball. They average about 92 points per game, which is insane. They rank first nationally in 3-point attempts. I'm assuming their 3 points made are also very, very high. They rank very well. For me, it's going to come down to, can Alabama make their wide open threes, and can they make their contested threes? Just in general, like, you are going to have to make even more than your average for threes if you want to beat a team like Michigan. You got to get hot. So I mean, anything could happen. I think the spread, I can't remember what the spread is, but the spread like 8 or 9 points. Like, Vegas has Michigan, I think, pretty heavily favored, but this is a game where, like, I don't hate Bama here, especially because how hot they are, just absolutely dismantling Texas Tech. Granted, Michigan is light years better than Texas Tech, but I don't hate the matchup here for.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we could play guess the line, but I had figured you already saw it, so it's not like you didn't. So the line right now is Michigan minus 9.5. I mean, you broke it down tremendously. Alabama, the only thing Alabama really has going for them is the fact that they are just absolutely lethal from three, and that's just a Nate Oates team, like you said. Nate Oates, that's how we always run. It's a track meet, no matter when you play Alabama. And so when you look back at the losses Michigan has had this year, they've come to, when teams are just red hot from three. Wisconsin, when they beat them, they were red hot from three. And most of the time, that's one of the best ways to beat Michigan. And you mentioned it when we were going over the coverage of Michigan's previous game.
Red Wings
it's so
are
hard
dead,
to score on them.
Sorry, Red Wings.
What's that?
Dead. Red Wings are dead.
Yeah, I think it's actually, not to get on a tangent, I believe the guy who scored, I think the senator who scored, he scored both of them, and it's his first game ever, first 2 career points in the NHL, and he has both goals to end our season.
Does he have a hat trick now? Because they just scored again.
I must be behind because I'm only 2-0.
Oh, sorry, and also,
oh my God.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Okay, but anyway, you mentioned it. They're so difficult to score on in the perimeter and the interior because of A-Day, Mara, because of guys so he's still a 6'9" forward. They're just so difficult. So if you're gonna beat them, you got to get red hot from the perimeter. And I say, like, if there's one team in the entire tournament outside of maybe like High Point, because they just have Chase Johnson is his name, who just throws it from half court and nails everything. Outside of him, like, Alabama is probably the one team in which, like, I think they could actually do something here. Now, Vegas, like you said, doesn't really think so. It's 9.5. Michigan would have to be honestly not be able to keep up with the Crimson Tide there. But I mean, these two teams do match up really well, and I am super excited for this one. 7:35, March 27th. You said United. Michigan has a little bit of a advantage staying in Chicago, being so close to Detroit in Chicago. Alabama has to travel, obviously, or I should say Alabama fans has to travel, obviously. So a little bit of an edge there to Michigan. But I think they're going to this is a great matchup. I'm really excited for this one. Take the over, I think I'm going to do, if Michigan can keep up.
Would love to take the over on this one. I know when I do, like, Bama's going to put up like 56 points, and the over's going to be dead in the first half. But anything else on this one before we get to maybe the best matchup? I'm not even being biased. I think this might be the best matchup in the Sweet 16.
No, let's get to Michigan State. Do you know this line before I do that? Are you aware of what this line is?
I have been all over this line. I'm telling you, like, the second, even before, like, UConn beat UCLA, I actually, once Michigan State beat Louisville, I had already thought for some reason that UConn had advanced to the Sweet 16. So I was, like, trying to find the line, like, Michigan State, UConn, what's the line on, like, Saturday. Couldn't find it. Like, lo and behold, like, UConn and UCLA didn't even play until Sunday at, like, fucking midnight almost. So yeah, I've been all over this line since Monday morning. I think it opened. I saw it open at a pick'em, which is, like, insane. I see the line right now is UConn minus 1.5. I don't want to, like, feel overconfident. Obviously, this is a coin toss, but I love the way we're playing right now. I think Michigan State money line it has to be the play for Friday night. But regardless, I mean, this is a heavyweight bout. This is, I mean, just two absolute heavyweight coaches going head to head. Tom Izzo, Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley's obviously had so much success at UConn, 2 national championships. We know what Izzo can do in March. Just Final Fours on Final Fours. Granted, we lose most of them, but neither here nor there. It's just it's gonna be incredible. But where are you feeling on this one?
I mean, I'm right there with you in that it's just an absolute heavyweight. I mean, we played UConn a number of times in the tournament before. I hate Danny Hurley. I think he's falls into the same category as like Mick Cronin. He just is a fucking crybaby on the sideline, and in a different way than Izzo. Obviously, is emotional. He screams. He yells at his players. They yell at him. I think it's different. Danny Hurley, like literally pouts and throws temper tantrums on the sideline. So the court side. So I hate Danny Hurley. With that being said, UConn. They've kind of been all over. It's hard to get a good feel on them for this tournament because the first game that they had, well, actually, the first game they had, their two of their top guys were out, so you don't know what if they were gonna get past Furman. And then Terrace Reed goes absolutely off with like a 30 and 20, 30 points and 20 rebound game, which is absolutely insane.
27
very well
rebounds,
balanced.
by the way.
Oh my god, that's damn near 30-30. That is like, I mean, that's one of the most crazy performances I've ever seen in March Madness. So Terrace just goes off. Terrace, you might remember Terrace Reed, former Michigan Wolverine. We played him a few years ago and played for the Wolverines. He transferred to UConn.
That's the same guy?
Yes, it is. I think he was under the Juwan era and then transferred out. But UConn's they're very balanced. They have 5 guys who score in double figures. You have Terrace leads the way with 14.2. Alex Caravan, who has been there for like 5 years, I think. He was there when they won both national championships. He's looking to be and going to rarefied air to join the ranks of guys that have graduated with 3 national championships if he can, if they can keep moving forward in this tournament. So Caravan is second with 13.3. Solo Ball, all name team list. Solo Ball, 13 points flat. Braylon Mullins has 12.1, and then Silas Damari 10.6. So really balanced across the board. They don't get much from their bench. Everyone else on their bench is right around 5 points or so per game or less. Just seeing, in my opinion, my breakdown of the game, if Michigan State's playing how they have been playing the first 2 games, I think I agree with you. I like Michigan State money line, and that is Jeremy Fears taking care of the ball, dishing out assist after assist, and the 3 ball is falling. I think offensively, you have to continue that 3 ball to fall. And then defensively, you got to be able to contain Terrace Reed and contain them on the 3-point line. They're a 35.2% 3-point shooting team. Alex Caravan is almost a 40% 3-point shooter. Silas is almost a 40% 3-point shooter. So you got to contain them on the 3-point line, and you got to contain Terrace Reed down low. You do those 2 things on defense, along with your offense, Jeremy Fears taking care of the ball. The 3-point ball still falls, maybe doesn't need to fall as much as it has been the past few games, but like at least somewhat to that level. I think Michigan State could be looking forward. I agree with you, coming out of this heavyweight matchup with the victory. But those are 2 big ifs.
Yeah, and like we have to push the pace too. I mean, and that's something that Michigan State has done our entire lives. But you have to beat UConn in transition. Every bucket that you can steal in transition, you have to do it. UConn's, I would say their strength is their star power in the front court, and those big fellas they don't move quite as well as the guards do. I mean, Terrace Reed, he's 6'10", 260. I mean, he's huge, man. So if we can push the pace, if we can take care of the ball too, because a lot of times we have seen with Michigan State teams where like, we are push, go. And yeah, we're coughing up the ball. I think we've been a lot better turnover wise this year than in previous years, but still, I mean, you got a Red Wings goal, by the way. Let's go. Not dead yet, but you got to push the pace. You got to take care of the ball. And then for me, yes, Terrace Reed, he's a force. He's a force to be reckoned with. I think that honestly still a decently underrated portion of Michigan State's defense is Carson Cooper and Jackson Kohler. And I would say majority Cooper is the guy just like banging down low, pause. But, he's the guy who's doing the dirty work. So I know that he's going to be on Reed quite a bit. And he's damn good at defense. And Jackson Kohler's no slouch himself. I mean, these guys are good at defense. There's a reason why we were ranked so high majority of the season, Ken Palm defensive rankings. So it comes down to a lot of things. But I think if we push and we can keep their front court honest and just not give up any easy buckets, I think the matchup actually does favor Michigan State just a little bit, even though Vegas might say otherwise. So yeah, I'm feeling.
Yes. So just to break some of these numbers down and just to nerd out for one quick second, net wise, Michigan State ranks In the country. UConn's ranked 10th, so right there, really even there. Ken Palm, Michigan State 9th, UConn 11th. Ken Palm is, some people have different opinions on that. Let's see, offensive rebounding, Michigan State's number 1, UConn is 62nd, or actually no, defensive rebounding, Michigan State's number 1, UConn 62nd. Offensive rebounding, Michigan State's 10th, UConn's 28th. 3-point shooting percentage, Michigan State is 38th, and UConn is 133rd. That's crazy.
Is that
Michigan State.
Is that
No, that's offensive because they have defensive 3-point percentage allowed. Michigan State's 104th, meaning we're not very good at defending the 3. UConn's 28th in the country at defending the 3. So it's really is a great matchup because our 3 is getting hot. UConn defends the 3 really, really well. Free throws, Michigan State has a better free throw percentage. 2-point percentage, Michigan State is 96th. UConn is 26th. So UConn has the edge there. So it really is going to come down to if Michigan State, in my opinion, if we can contain the big man down low, like you said, I think Carson Cooper is well up for the challenge. And if our 3-point shooting can basically overcome their 3-point defense, and I think I agree with you. I think we have a good chance in this one. I mean, it's just 2 perfect matchups that between Michigan and Michigan State that like they don't get any better than this.
It's gonna be so awesome, man. This is March. Just drink it in, because we're gonna blink, and it's gonna be the Final Four. You only got 2 games, and then maybe a free game on Monday, national championship. But that's right around the corner. So drink in this weekend and enjoy it.
I was just thinking today. Obviously, if you're watching this clip on YouTube or on one of our social medias, I'm in the process of moving. I have my studio up and just still being put together. I was moving during the Thursday, Friday games, and so I was just today looking back, like, damn, I don't think I fully took in the first 2 days and enjoyed all the madness of basketball. And so it's a great point. Everyone take a moment, sit on your couch during the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 just to enjoy all the basketball that's going on. Take that second to enjoy it because we're going to miss this when it's gone. But when it is gone, we have the Tigers baseball season just around the corner. We're going to break them down here in a second after this quick break. All right, we are back and we are going to be transitioning to the Detroit Tigers. We have a lot of Detroit Tigers news. Obviously, when you're listening to this episode, we have the season opener. I believe it's against the Padres. I think I might be incorrect in that, but obviously we have our home opener, and we have our home opener next week. And so we always start out on the West Coast, so it's a little bit different. It makes it feel like not the actual opener until the home opener. But I digress. So depending when you're listening to this, the Tigers will be starting either today, the day after, whenever you're listening to it. So we have the Tigers. We have to go over our annual MVP, MIP predictions, all that stuff. We also have the news that we needed to cover that the Detroit Tigers have awarded their fans. Kevin McGonigle will be on the starting day, the opening day lineup in the roster. Kevin McGonigle, the number 2 prospect in all of baseball, the second round pick, I think, maybe a late second round pick in the 2024, I believe, MLB draft. He's someone that we've been tracking for a while. If you're a Detroit fan or Tigers fan, you know a little bit about their farm systems. You know Kevin McGonigle. I think he's a 5'9" shortstop who has just elite bat to ball skills. Defensively, he's very good defensively. He's not gonna win it all, being in an all-star just based on his glove. But he's good enough. He's a shortstop. Probably won't play shortstop forever in his career. He was just playing third base in spring training. They'll move him all around wherever we need him to. But his bat has been phenomenal. It's great discipline, has power, can put to all areas of the field. And the question was he going to start this upcoming season with the Tigers, or was he going to start with the Toledo Mud Hens? We covered him a few weeks ago. He's only played up to Double A. He's never played Triple A, and so to skip a complete level, go from Double A to the major leagues, is not done very often. I broke down some of those numbers last week, but it's basically like guys who skip Triple A and then end up having a +2 career WAR, which is wins above replacement. +2 is a good career. It's like 20. It's like 15% or something like that. So it's not very likely. And the other side of that was, it was whether he was ready. But then the other side was there's a lot of bureaucracy to this, in that if the Tigers don't bring him up to start the season, they basically get another year until they had to go to arbitration for him. His clock doesn't start for another year later. And we broke down arbitration a little bit when we talked about Tarek Skubal. You can go back and listen to that episode. But they basically, if they hold him down there, that we can basically keep him on a rookie deal essentially for longer. The flip side of that is if we were to bring him up at the start of a season, there's an incentive program to keep teams from doing that, in that if he wins a rookie of the year. The Tigers get a first round draft pick as a reward for bringing him up and playing well, and or he places in the top 3 in AL MVP voting in the next 3 years. So there's a little bit of incentive to bring him up. It was kind of going back and forth. Like, do they value his rookie contract, his service timeline, or do they want to bring him up, try and show what he can do, and then just kind of hope that he plays really well and we get a first round draft pick rewarded for that? Obviously, they chose the latter. So we get Kevin McGonigle in the opening day lineup, and I'm absolutely pumped for this. This is like as if the Tigers didn't have enough to draw us in the seats, to the weather turning around, honestly making the playoffs the last 2 years, adding Kevin McGonigle to that, like, I'm fucking pumped.
Bro, this is huge, man. I'm just as pumped as you are, man. I mean, McGonigle he's just such a beauty. He's a beast, man. He absolutely rakes. He can do it in the field, too. He can do a little bit of everything. I mean, there's a reason why he was a top prospect in the minors. Yeah, and I think this really just goes to show that, like, Scott Harris and the Tigers front offense, like, they're in win-now mode. I think we saw that with all the free agent signings, mostly on the pitching staff. But, I mean, this team knows that, like, the window to win is now. You guys got guys like, Tarek Skubal, who, his future with the Tigers is absolutely up in limbo after this season. So we know if we got him for one more season, let's try to win now. And, maybe stack wins in the early part of the season with a young guy like Kevin McGonigle, get him more acclimated into the majors so that come down, games down the stretch when they're so important, obviously games in the postseason, that he's just more ready to go, just having more, major league at-bats under his belt. So, I mean, he's just such a beast, though. I mean, he really did force the Tigers' hand by just playing so goddamn well in spring training. Slashing 250, 411, 477. That's, batting average, on base percentage, and slugging. Also 11 walks, which obviously is contributing to its very high on base percentage. He was such a beast in spring training that he's like, I mean, how could you not have this guy on your opening day roster? It helps that the Tigers don't really have a shortstop right now. They have guys like Trey Sweeney, who are probably serviceable at best. Has proven that he can probably be some kind of utility guy, backup, but certainly not your everyday guy. So I think that obviously helps Scott Harris in his decision. But the majority of the heavy lifting came from Kevin McGonigle himself, just with a absolutely stellar spring training.
Dude, so spring training, obviously you don't get everyone playing every night. Spring training is for guys like Kevin McGonigle to show what they can do. Guys like Jace Young, who were brought up last year and just really didn't perform, like, to try and earn that position back on the roster. So, like, you don't really get that much out of, like, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson. Like, it's not for those guys. So this stat is kind of skewed, but Kevin McGonigle leads the Tigers spring training roster in walks, average, on base percentage, slugging, OPS. He leads the Tigers on all 5 of those, in all 5 of those categories. And that's just the ones I checked. So you're exactly right. Like, the fans were begging for him to be here, and he did nothing to say that he doesn't deserve to be here. So we'll see. He'll be up there. We'll see how he does. Everyone assumed he would be up, at least come actual summertime, start of the summer. He would have been in Detroit anyways. So that's just saying, like, they believe in him that much that they're going to risk his service time in hopes that he, A, like you said, helps us win. B, it plays so well that he's either rookie of the year or top 3 in AL MVP votes. And then the other thing is that, and like you said, there just really is no one else on the roster that is in position right now. Like, we need a spot for them. So I'm here for it. We'll see who else of his group gets brought up. You had Max Anderson, who is just a slugger down in Toledo. You had Max Clark, who got he didn't make, obviously he's not making this opening day lineup, but he was promoted to AAA. He wasn't sent back down to AA, so he'll be right on the doorstep. A lot of people think both those two guys will be making their debuts this season. So, I mean, Tigers' season's right here, and we'll see how McGonigle does. For a team that lacks plate discipline and just needs a little pep in their step, McGonigle brings exactly that.
Yeah, we need some zing and pep for sure. I feel like opening day has very much like snuck up on me. It's opening day is Thursday. It's tomorrow if you're listening to this on Wednesday. And I don't know if I'm just like so much still in March Madness mode. And also probably like, the Tigers home opener, I feel like is a lot more buzz in Detroit than the actual opener. They like to give us a couple road games out west or down south just because you never know with Michigan Springs that are kind of just winter. So home opener, Obviously, we're super pumped for that in a couple weeks. But opening day, man, Thursday, and I think actually there's one game on Wednesday, like the first official opener of the MLB. So baseball's here, man. I'm very pumped for it.
It's here. The weather's turning. Like you said, I mean, we probably have a few more days of cold weather, a few more weeks of cold weather in us. But while with baseball returning, we have to do our annual MVP, MIP, season predictions, record, how far we're going to make it in the playoffs. Last year, I think we both pretty much hit. I think your MVP possibly was going to be Riley Green. I think either that or Tarek Skubal, one of the two. Both ended up having tremendous years. Riley, I think, led the team in home runs. Tarek, obviously, Cy Young. I said most improved is going to be Javi Baez. He did fall off there at the end, but I think that's enough to say, like, all right, he was good. He was really good. It been an all-star game, for God's sake. So I think I think we can call that
What a call, dude. I mean, just the people were mocking you, like, and it was just, and I don't know, man. There's just
Listener Greg was just calling in every single week talking shit about Javi Baez. Never wanted to apologize.
Listener Greg, I mean, has he even gave you your flowers yet? I don't think we have gotten an official Listener Greg, like, Tyler, you were right voicemail. So I think we still need that one, but
I don't think he's going to until we win a World Series with Javi on the roster, regardless of how much Javi contributes. I think that will be the point in which he maybe will concede. But, well, I digress. Let's go through it again this year. Let's start with MVP. You want to kick us off with who your most valuable player for the Detroit Tigers is going to be this upcoming season?
Yeah, let's do it, dude. I got some bangers here. I cooked up some great ones. This is not clickbait. This is I actually do feel very strongly about these picks, but for me, MVP, I'm going with the fucking legend himself, Justin Verlander. I think that this guy still has so much left in the tank. I told you I'm coming with bangers, Tyler. I mean, just looking at his stats last year, I mean, age 42, still 1.2 WAR. I mean, 3.85 ERA. He was just humming with 137 strikeouts and 152 innings pitched. So I think that he's just going to add just another element to this Tigers pitching staff. Like, obviously, you add guys like Framber Valdez. You have the best pitcher on the planet in Tarek Skubal. You have young guys too. Casey Mize, tremendous 2025 season. I just feel like JV is going to add another element, just a veteran presence. This guy has done it all in the postseason. Multiple World Series wins with the Astros. He just has that breadth of knowledge. I think he's going to be such a breath of fresh air coming into this organization that has had a bit of success in the postseason. Back-to-back seasons with at least one series win in the postseason, right? So that's obviously nothing to scoff at. And in baseball, we know that it's kind of a numbers game. You have to make the playoffs every year, and you have to play that numbers game. Eventually, you're going to get hot. A little bit of luck involved. Baseball, any team can beat any other team, and I really think this is the year. We'll talk about our predictions just a little bit down the line, but this is a year where JV comes home and just reinvigorates this pitching staff even further to become one of the best pitching staffs in baseball, and he's going to add at least another couple of games for his WAR, and I think he's our MVP.
Well, I mean, I love that take. I think there's a lot of guys on this team that are going to play really well. Justin Verlander, I think he's going to help everyone else. I love that he's going to be MVP. I don't know if that says more about him or everyone else on our staff that either they played poorly so Justin Verlander gets it, or he plays that well that he just beats everyone else in his MVP. Either way, I love that. I would love that it's a perfect end of story for him if we can have a little bit of success in the postseason there. My MVP, I'm going to go with, like I said, I think you maybe picked him last year. I can't quite remember. I'm going to go with Riley Green as my MVP. And nice. I think I'm excited to talk about MIPs because most improved players, because I think there's a lot of candidates for most improved players. I think the reason why Riley is going to be my MVP is because what he's going to improve on from last year. I think there was so much talked about his strikeouts. I mean, he damn near broke records for how many strikeouts he had. If not, he might have. I don't even remember. So it was all it's obvious what he needs to work on. I really, really hope and pray that that's what he took all off season to work on his launch angle. His swing angle was so aggressively up. It led to a lot of strikeouts. I just hope every single day he's been in the lab working with guys trying to work on that. And I think so much was made of that he, it will cut down on his strikeouts, continue with his home runs. Maybe his home runs will dip a tiny bit because of strikeouts. He's not being so much aggressive, but I think cutting down on the strikeouts will make Riley Green my MVP this upcoming season.
Love it. That's really the only thing, right? Because like, I mean, he's still a tremendous hitter, all-star, had a great season. But yeah, dude, his strikeouts were getting to a point. It was almost getting comical. And there was a point in last season where I think I was on record saying like I don't care about his strikeouts because he's adding just such an element to it. At any time he swings the bat, he can it can go yard. And then it kind of got to the point where I'm like, okay, maybe I do care about these strikeouts because it's just
He's
getting.
like, watch this.
Yeah, it's like yeah, you don't care, Kyle. I'm gonna strike out like 10 more times right in your face. And so
Slow as the season went. He's so slow. Like he's got to work on his speed too.
he is easily the slowest man alive. And it's crazy because I feel like when he was like a rookie, he was making all these crazy plays in the field and getting to balls. And maybe honestly, he was making a lot of those diving plays because he's so slow that like other players are probably just getting to that ball on 2 feet, but he has to dive. Neither here nor there. I think he's going to have another big season. He needs to if the Tigers want to take another step forward. But I definitely like that MVP pick.
Okay, MIP, most improved.
MIP, dude. Shout out flashbacks to high school. I'm actually between 2 players here. I'm gonna go with my heart, and this is what I want to see happen. And I'm teetering on like if I think it's gonna happen or not. But most improved player for me, I think it's gonna be Parker Meadows. It's just it needs to happen. He had a really tumultuous season last year where he missed time at the start of the season with an injury and just never got it going afterwards. Obviously never had a spring training, injured all throughout spring training in the start of the season. And I think that just had like such a detrimental impact on his overall game. Just couldn't get anything done at the plate. Really, really struggled. And this is a guy where, he's still only 25 years old, maybe 26 years old now. So still like very much in the prime of his career. And a guy where like not too long ago, like he was your guy in center field, the magical 2024 season, he's making plays in center and then like getting, next at bat, and just going yard and just doing it everywhere on the field and everywhere behind the plate. We saw none of that in 2025. Just a nightmare scenario for Parker Meadows. So I think he's going to bounce back. I think it's probably an easy spot to bounce back from because he was so bad last year. But I have him, just completely breaking it open again, slashing closer to that, 250 mark behind the plate, and hitting for both contact and a bit of power there too. So most improved player for me, Parker. It's going to be a big one for you, buddy.
I'm excited to talk about most improved players because there's so many guys that I think could fall under this category just because there are so many guys like for the last 2 years. I feel like we kind of have been, and we talked about this, when we were in the heat of it, guys were just overperforming. And so there's so many guys that definitely could be qualified, had down years and could qualify as most improved players. I think Parker Meadows, it's 100% a make it or break it season for him. He's so valuable to us. You broke it down. I mean, 2 years ago in 2024, he was fantastic. He was a leadoff batter, 6'5". So once you get him on the base path, he is so lethal at stealing bases, and he was so great in center field and power. So it's a make or break season for Parker. I was definitely debating him as well. I don't know. I don't know if I would go with him because I just don't know if he actually can do that. I think our season very much lynches on whether he can or not. I'm not sure if he will though. So I mean, hey, having him in the leadoff spot is perfect. If he can get back to that, that'd be amazing. I think for me, just because there's so many guys, I think honorable mentions. I think you could probably say. Maybe this is not so fair, but you can maybe say Kerry Carpenter is the most improved player just because of his health last year. He was in and out of the lineup. He was struggling a little bit. I think another guy you could say most improved player could be Colt Keith. Colt Keith started the season really, really slow, caught fire in the middle of the season, and then towards the back end, towards the playoff, was unplayable. He ended up getting hurt, but up and down. I mean, just up and down. I think he's another guy similar to Parker that like if you're gonna have any success this year, you need to get production out of Colt Keith. But my most improved player, kind of melding the two and like it basically get back to performance and health. It's going to be Matt Vierling. I think it was very much forgotten how good Matt Vierling was for this team, similar to Parker back in 2024. And last year, I mean, you kind of walked through it with like Parker, just injury after injury, never got going. He ended up only playing in 31 games last year. But then looking back to 2024, he finished the year, I think he had a 735 OPS. He hit 16 home runs. I mean, he was just doing, I think he was quietly really leading this team. His batting average is 257 in 2024. He was quietly leading this team in a lot of these categories and was really important for this team. For the first playoff appearances we had in quite some time, he was one of the only guys who had playoff experience. So I think Matt Vierling, getting back to healthy, Matt Vierling will be huge for this team as well.
And it's interesting too, and you're absolutely right. That 2024 season, it went through Matt Vierling, nearly a 3-WAR player, just really, really tremendous. It's interesting, because he's primarily third base. He plays outfield too. You got Colt Keith, who I think all signs are pointing to him being more of your everyday third baseman. So I'm curious to know, that split between Vierling, Colt Keith. I mean, who's getting the playing time and where, and if maybe Vierling's going to play more time in, I think left field is where he's usually at. I'm definitely going to be interested to see like where AJ Hinch is going with a lineup there. But I mean, like, as long as you have Matt Vierling in the lineup, you need him to perform like he did in 2024. There's no reason to think he can't. Coming into the season, he's fully healthy now for, at least I'm, as much as I'm aware, fully healthy. It's definitely a big year for Matt Vierling.
Yeah. Okay, before we get to Grid of the Week, let's get to our predictions. Last year, I think I had us taking a step back from the year before and losing out to the Guardians in the pennant. You had us winning the division, winning the Central.
Man,
obviously,
you were right again.
But I mean, you were on track for that for 98% of the season, and then just the colossal collapse to just give me the backdoor cover there. But what are we going to finish record-wise before we get into Grid of the Week? Record-wise, and then are we winning the division? How far are we making it in the playoffs? What do you think overall prediction for the season?
Yeah, I think this team takes a step forward, and I think it's going to be on the backs of the pitchers. As much as I would love to say, like, yes, this team is finally going to hit for the first time in years, I don't quite see it. I think there are definitely pieces at play that the bats are going to improve on. Obviously, just injecting a guy like Kevin McGonigle in the lineup, albeit a rookie, the guy absolutely rakes. That's probably going to help. You got young guys, Colt Keith, obviously Torkelson, Riley Green, guys that can hit. So I'm not going to say we're not going to be able to hit, but I think the strong suit for us is definitely going to be pitching. It's just we've invested so much in this pitching staff. So barring injuries and knock on wood that doesn't happen, this season is going to go well because of pitching, and I think we're going to be dominant, best pitching staff in baseball, maybe top 2. You could say the Dodgers that are just farming every amazing Japanese pitcher under the sun. They might be better, but record for me, I think improvement. Now, I'm going to go 90 wins. First time getting to 90 wins in years for the Tigers. 90 and 72. That's, I believe, a 3-game improvement from last season. And probably for the 3rd year in a row, I'm going to go, this is the year we win the Central. I'm going first place in the Central, man. It's ours for the taking.
All right. So you and I, we're in complete lockstep there. It's funny because I have us with the exact same record. I have us improving to 90 wins. Yep. I have us 90 wins. And like we said, last year we were overperforming, but then we also had a monster collapse and ended up, coughing up the division to the Guardians there at the end. I just don't see that. I don't see either of those happening again. I don't think we're going to way overperform, but I also don't see us collapsing as we did. I think we got a little bit better. I think the Guardians got a little bit worse. So I think we end up taking the division with I'm going to say we end up with like a 5-game. I think we end up winning by about 5 games or something like that. And then we're going to finish 90 wins there, first time, like you said, in quite some time. I agree wholeheartedly with everything you said on the backs of our pitchers. And I think there's just so many guys that like I mentioned, could qualify for most improved player this year. If you get a few of those guys to perform and get back to somewhat of what we know they can be, we'll be in good shape. So that's my prediction as well.
All right, and then we got to go one step further. Prediction for the team. So obviously we both have the Tigers winning the Central. So that's a playoff berth. How far do you have this Tigers team going in the postseason?
I have us going a minimum ALCS. I have us taking the next step in the postseason, getting over the ALDS hump, which we've obviously been stuck at the last 2 years. I have us going to the ALCS. I have us going far in the ALCS. Do I think we can break through and make it to the World Series? I don't know. I'm gonna hold. I don't know. I think we're gonna go far in the ALCS, as in like a Game 6 or even a Game 7, and then we'll see about the World Series.
Okay. I'm gonna take you one step further. I think this team, this pitching staff, and that come October, pitching is it's at a premium. It's everything, and obviously bats are too. I'm not gonna underplay bats because we've been saying for years we need bats, but this pitching staff is gonna take the Tigers very far. I'm gonna say World Series. but a World Series loss. And I think, I mean, there are certainly some good teams in the NL. It would be easy for me to say, yeah, if it's going to be, it's going to be the Dodgers.
Yeah.
There's no team beating the Dodgers. I'm going, Dodgers are going back to back. It's unfortunate, but it's a World Series loss to the Dodgers. And I would hate to see that, obviously, for multiple reasons. We're huge Tigers fans, but if there's one team that I can't lose to, it's probably the Dodgers. They're just the evil empire. But I think that's a prediction. This is a prediction. I think that's what's going to happen.
Hey, so Justin Verlander is going to be our season MVP, and we're going to the World Series. You heard it here first, folks. Okay, let's wrap up with some Grit of the Week. Before we get to Grit of the Week, as always, it's brought to you by Pins and Aces. Kyle, close your eyes for a second and picture this. We're watching the Elite Eight. We're watching the Sweet 16. We've watched college basketball all day. We're laying on the couch. We say, you know what? Let's go. The weather's getting beautiful. It's spring. Let's go out and hit some balls. Let's go to the driving range. Let's go play a quick round of 18. Come back, watch more basketball after. How beautiful does that sound? Well, you can do it all wearing Pins and Aces gear. Pins and Aces is a Colorado-based golf brand making premium polos, head covers, and gear that perform on and off the course. This is all stuff that's made in the USA with quality that you can absolutely feel. All of our listeners can enjoy an exclusive discount at checkout at pinsandaces.com. That's 21% off any product using promo code GRIT, G-R-I-T, at pinsandaces.com. My Grit of the Week, we're going to go, actually, we had some stuff planned for this show to talk about the Pistons with the Tigers opening day. We just ran out of time, so I'm going to go to the Pistons. My Grit of the Week is going to be Dennis Jenkins. Dennis Jenkins just absolutely putting the team on his back against the Lakers last night. Putting up a 30-point game, I believe. First, it was a career high for him. Dennis has been somebody that has been he's really struggled since getting his contract. And a lot of people are pointing to him. He was averaging like 9 points a game or something very efficiently in his minutes, which isn't crazy, but it's exactly what we needed. Then he signs the contract, and he dropped to like 4.5 points per game and shooting like 27% from three. Basically, everything we need him to do, he wasn't doing. So everyone was pointing fingers, saying like, oh, we need him to be better. He was fantastic against the Lakers. Obviously, Cade Cunningham is currently out with his punctured lung. We didn't really get to talk about that. Seems like it's going to be a mild case. I actually read today that he was back into shoot around. No contact yet, but shooting the basketball around. So hopefully he'll be back come playoff time. But Dennis Jenkins has been, at least against the Lakers last night, and with Cade, any game we can win, in my opinion, or without Cade, I should say, any game we win is a steal. So real quick, before I get your thoughts and then your Grit of the Week, I had this thought today. This time last year, we had Cade running the show, Dennis Schroeder as our backup point guard. And he was a real reason why we went so far last year, having his production. So I thought in my head, okay, Dennis Jenkins has played himself into the backup point guard position. Let me compare the stats between when Dennis Schroeder was here in Detroit and Dennis Jenkins. And they're very, very similar. And obviously, we didn't have to give up anything to get Dennis. He's on a much cheaper contract. So this year, Dennis Jenkins, just 18 minutes per game, averaging 8.3 points per game, 37% from three, 43% from the field, 2-point percentage. Let's see, 2 rebounds and 3.3 assists. Dennis Schroeder in his year in Detroit, he averaged a lot more minutes. He had 25 minutes per game, shot 30% from three. He had 10.8 points per game. So very, very similar. The only difference is that Dennis Schroeder was a little bit more of a distributor. He had 5 assists per game as opposed to Dennis's, I think, like 3.5. But Dennis can shoot the three a lot better than Dennis. So it's just something fun I came across today that I was like, how do they compare? Because Schroeder was a huge reason why we made it so far last year. Can Dennis be that? And I think Dennis absolutely can be that. If his assist numbers can rise a little bit and distribute the ball a little bit, I think it'll be super helpful to come playoff time. So, Grit of the Week, Dennis Jenkins.
Oh, I love it, man. And I hope that his basically, 3-week or month stretch of struggling, I hope that was just a slump and he's out of it now. But I mean, regardless, man, like you said, any game that we're picking up, any win we're picking up without Cade, let alone against the Lakers, who were hot. I mean, they were coming off like a huge winning streak. I'm playing really well. And to beat them without Cade, it's such a win, man. And like Dennis Jenkins, like including the game winner, I don't know if you mentioned that, but like just hitting an absolute dagger in Austin Reeves' face for the win. It was really incredible, man. The Pistons, they're still playing well. 3-0 without Cade now. They currently sit 52-19. still the number 1 seed in the East. I think they're about 5 games ahead of Boston with 11 games left. So again, don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much, but really just have to kind of more or less play 500 ball, and then obviously hope that Boston isn't just perfect down the stretch and they lose a couple games. But I mean, things are going really well, as good as they can without Cade. Like you said, it looks like his injury, hopefully is going to be less severe than initially anticipated, and he should be back for playoffs. So we'll fill you more in as we hear more. But regardless, right now, Dennis Jenkins, I should say. Sorry, you were talking about Dennis Schroeder all this time. Grid of the week. I had Dennis as well. I'm gonna have to pivot. I'm gonna go the other guy who we talked about quite a bit, but you get called up and you skip AAA, you're getting grid of the week from me. Grid of the week, Kevin McGonigle, man. What more can you say about him? Just a prolific 21-year-old, just a phenom. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much, but I think he's going to have just a very long career, hopefully a long career, donning the old English D. But at the very least, we have him right now for, quite some time. Arbitration, whatnot, that's going to be in the future. But I'm so pumped to see Kevin McGonigle and pumped to see this, another Larkin goal. Yes. All right. Wings might be back, man. Wings absolutely might be back. But Kevin McGonigle, grid of the week, man. Here's to a long and prosperous career for you.
I got to get my internet checked out because I'm still behind. Still no goal. Still no Larkin goal. Still no Larkin goal. Still no goal. Anyways, it's important to remember that McGonigle, he's not going to... There's going to be lumps and bumps along the way. I mean, he's a 21-year-old skipping AAA. Teams are starting to figure him out a little bit towards the end of spring training. Teams were attacking him with some off-speed stuff, some curveball stuff that he was hitting less, so his numbers started to slip a little bit. So there's going to be, it's not going to be perfect. No one skipping AAA would be perfect. But hopefully we don't even let him get to arbitration. If it does all work out, we're going to sign him long-term like we did with Colt Keith before he even gets there. So shout out to both those two guys. I mean, both absolutely deserving, both guys that are hopefully can help carry these teams moving forward. So, all right, that's our show. Thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode. You can find both Kyle and I on Twitter at Kyle_Marino and Dutton_Tyler. You can follow the podcast itself on, there's the goal. So how long was that? That was a good 6 minutes. You can follow the podcast itself on TikTok or on Twitter at Gridiron Report. You can watch us on YouTube at Gridiron Report. Finally, you can join the conversation next week by calling into the Gridiron Report voicemail for us to play and discuss on the podcast. That phone number is 313-306-7939. And if you like this episode, please take a moment, rate it 5 stars, leave us a nice review. Follow us on all forms of social media. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks, y'all. Restore the roar, baby.
A journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retired. Grit iron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on blast, beats thundering loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd. The Gridiron Report where the stories are proud. Tune in, bring the heat, make your fandom a vow.